Good.
All right. So first of all, tell us about your business. What is it?
Well, so I've got several.
Mm-hmm.
And so the business that provides for us in our home is decorative concrete. And been doing that for about 12 years. Started in Austin, Texas. But this is home, Lubbock is. And so I came back here to do my parents' floors and ran into an ex-girlfriend who's now my wife, and now we've got kids. She's a small town girl and didn't want to go to Austin. So started the business here and just started doing phone book cold calling.
Really?
And worked odds and end jobs on the side. I installed drip irrigation on farms, waited tables at Anna's, and cleaned public restrooms with a buddy of mine who owns a sanitation business. And until the business got rolling, just did those things to provide on the side, and finally it got bigger and bigger, and provided enough to let me do it full time.
That's what I'm talking about, man. That is awesome. That is really awesome. So they say about 80% of your business comes from like 20% of the customers that you actually bring on. So who are those people that really provide for your business, that actually, whether it's a company or if there's like a customer that's constantly pushing it out there for you, who is it?
Well, I'd say what we do is fairly unique, because when you do decorative concrete or flooring, you're hoping that customer never really needs you again, until they move or something like that. And so you can't really rely on that customer,
of course,
particularly for just their home or just their flooring, to be your repeat customer. But word of mouth is that 80%, I guess. And so it's interesting, because I guess a lot of people may go after builders, hoping that those builders continue to use you over and over again. But I've found that really it's a smaller portion of builders that use us, and it's just a few that we really like to work with, that bring us large projects and things like that we do. But it's the residential stuff that really fills in the gaps and keeps you running as a business owner, even more so than that. I know a lot of businesses that have minimums that they put on what they'll do. And we've had to do that here recently, but we try to keep them as low as possible, because it's basically like any money is good money.
Absolutely,
so,
right. That's the smart way to go about it, I would. So everything kind of has a beginning. So what was yours? Like, how did you get started in Austin and things of that nature? So like, who was all involved in the business process? Was it just you and your wife? Did you have like a partner at the time? Somebody kind of come along the way and inspire you? What did that look like?
Yeah, there was a guy, and so it's kind of a crazy story, because I was homeless in Austin.
Okay.
And so I had no house, I had no job, I had no car, nothing but the clothes on my back. And so there was a guy who was a friend of mine in the past and kind of knew where I'd be. And so whether it's an abandoned place that we stayed from time to time, or if it was with random friends couch surfing or whatever, he'd come and find me and say, "Hey Zach, come cut grass with me." He had a lawn care business. And he also did renovation projects, and said, I'm doing this stuff called decorative concrete, and you having an artist background, you may really, really love this. And so I looked at it, and I was the talker and he was real shy. And I said, "Hey, let's partner together. I'll go sell this stuff for you, and I'll help you get the jobs done." So we started there in Austin. I think we only did it for probably 8 months before I came to Lubbock and did my parents' floors, and called Dave when I came to Lubbock and said, "Hey, I don't know if you're down to move to Lubbock, but I think I'm going to stay here and get this business started here." And he said, "No, man, I'm in Austin. I don't want to go to Lubbock." And so I don't blame you. And so that's how I got started here.
That's nice. Okay, I love that, man. Let's see. So a lot of people have trouble with just starting. It sounds like you didn't. I mean, you did, of course. I mean, you kind of had that struggle, but then you did. It's almost as though as soon as you found your niche or your passion, you kind of just started, didn't even think twice. Or have you done sales or something before? Is it just the natural wordiness? What do you think, kind of?
Man, I've talked to people about getting into small business, and a lot of people think that they need capital to get started. And going from homeless to having a business, you just don't have many people that are like, "Yeah, I'll give you money."
Oh, yeah.
You used to be a drug addict and alcoholic, right? Yeah. And so I didn't have any capital. I did go to 3 different men that were friends of the family, and I knew had money, and kind of presented a business plan. And I bought Business Plan Pro, and went through the whole thing and laid it out to them, and they just politely declined. And I look back now and think how that was just the most wonderful thing that could have happened to me. I couldn't imagine living now with 50% or 40% or 30% or whatever it is going towards another person. It would have made the struggle so much harder to get a business off the ground, because you just need that much more income to provide for you and your family. And so, man, basically it was just, like I said, working odds and ends jobs. And I talk to small business owners now, and if they're willing to go and wait tables or work on a farm or do whatever to make their business work, then I know they'll be successful. But if somebody's saying, well, unless I find the money, or unless, you know, I can find the time in between this job and that job, or, you know, I just don't know if I can really put in, I don't think they're ever going to get it.
Yeah.
And so, and that's just from my experience. There probably is people out there that can, but from my experience, you can't. So, I really, you know, when I started off, it was renting every tool, right? It was, I couldn't really buy many, you know, so I'd rent them. I borrowed my parents' Suburban, you know, to get around town. And to use a beat up old 87 GMC Suburban, the red was faded to pink, you know? And so people were seeing me pull up into their houses to give them bids and going, who is this guy? But that's where I learned that it's about relationships more than it is about the professional business appearance with the collared shirts and the logos and the nice business cards and the nice truck and all that kind of thing. I saw that if you had the reputation and the personality to talk to them, to know who they were, to be who you were, you know, to connect on a deeper level than just, hey, I'm here to do your floors, then not only could you get the job, but you have a customer for life, you know.
That sends them your way and everything. So talk a little bit more about that relational part. I guess kind of how do you get past the red Suburban guy pulling up, you know, to come do the floors in one of these really, really nice houses, and they're like, do we really trust this guy? To build in that relationship to where they're like, oh my gosh, this dude, I'm telling everybody in the neighborhood to come have you do their floors.
So that's always been kind of my modus operandi, is just about the relationship. And I guess the best way I know to tell you is there's a guy that I hired in the Dallas area, because we ended up having two different markets that we had an office in. We had an office here in Lubbock, we had an office in Rockwall. And so I brought on a guy who was going to run the business for me there, and he was a salesman. He had done sales forever. And so I was going with him, you know, to each house that we'd have a bid to give, and I was just training him. And so I just watch him. Well, he'd walk in and he would have this real salesman approach. His whole voice would change, his posture would change, his body language, everything would change. It wasn't like just me and Jeremy hanging out in the car or hanging out at his house with his family anymore. It turned into a different Jeremy. And so I remember leaving after a couple of these things and going, Jeremy, I was thinking about what to tell him, you know, because it was just bugging me. And I was going, Jeremy, look, let me just tell you, man, we're not here to sell anything. Okay, our first goal when we walk through that door is to connect. And if we can connect spiritually, that would be the biggest thing. Eternity outlives and lasts longer than anything temporary on this earth. So if you can build a connection spiritually, you've done something beyond what just that floor is going to be, what their home is, what money is, anything like that. And so if we can do that, that's our number one goal. And I said, but if you can't connect spiritually, connect some other way. Whether it be through their kids, their family, because you've got family, you've got kids, whether it be, you know, even something as shallow as a sports team or the city, the community, anything like that, right? Just connect, number one. And then number two, all you need to do is educate them. Make them a smart consumer, right? We're not here to sell them anything. Don't even try, okay? Just educate them on the product that they're buying, and then you're their teacher, right? And make them a smart consumer and say, thank you so much, it was awesome to meet you. Hope to see you again, either in your home or outside of your home, wherever, you know? And so it really changed the way he started thinking about it as well. It made it so much easier. He started enjoying his job more, you know? He didn't have to play a different person, he could just be Jeremy, you know? My kids hear me talking to my customers on my phone, and even my wife when we first got married, and she was like, who is that? I was like, oh, it's Janice over there, we're doing her pool deck, you know? She's like, it sounds like you've known that woman for 30 years. I'm like, yeah, we just, you know, that's just how I talk to Janice, you know? We just clicked like that from the very first moment. And Janice, I think everybody has a nose and they can smell people, you know.
Mm-hmm.
They know when someone walks in and is stressed and is high strung, or you know, something's off, they're angry, or maybe they're just trying to sell them something all about money. They can smell it. And so instantly people's natural reaction is not to tear down those walls, just to throw up their own. I wish everyone's natural reaction was to help tear down those walls, but that's just not the case of our society right now. I think as believers, we're trying to grow that in people. Hey, let me help you pull those walls down, man. And as a business owner, if you've got that ability as a believer to say, man, let me pull the walls down, but not to hurt you in any way, not to take advantage of your vulnerability, but to share in that vulnerability with you. You know, I will be just as vulnerable as you are, and just as honest and truthful. If I don't think this is the floor that you need, or if I don't think that this is a great time for you to be doing it, I'm just going to tell you. You know?
Absolutely. People really love that raw vulnerability, authenticity, and especially lately, it's just kind of gotten to the point, even on social media and stuff, to where stock photos don't work for people anymore. They want to see that grainy, crappy, 5 megapixel photo of stuff.
That's right.
And those do way better now in test markets and everything.
Yeah.
So that's pretty crazy, isn't it?
Yeah,
I think people are getting better at it.
Man, people are a little bit leery of corporate, a little bit leery of government. They're, and so when you come in looking polished and rehearsed, and you've got your little, taglines down or whatever it is, man, people just sour immediately with that. In fact, we don't even have people sign contracts. We've got a little proposal that we fill out and say what we're going to do. I sign it. They typically don't sign it. I have a carbon copy of it. That way they've got one, I've got one.
Wow.
I just realized.
So it's more of a promise from you to do well by them than it is that they're liable for whatever.
Right. I noticed that I would work and spend so much time at the beginning of our conversation building this rapport, and we'd start really loosening up with one another. And we'd start laughing and talking about things, and I'm there for an hour or 2 hours or whatever, just hanging out. And then all of a sudden I pull that contract out that was, 10 pages long. It's all gone. Everything's gone. They went straight into business mode, all trying to be savvy, trying to read between the lines, and then they have to think about it, and they have to read over the contract or have their lawyer read over it, and it just killed everything. And so, yeah, my neck's on the line a little bit. Right, for some of that stuff.
A lot of it.
I've been sued twice,
Yeah.
But what's amazing is I've been taken care of on both of those. Both of them just went away without a trace. Don't even know what happened to people or anything.
Nice.
They just went away, and so it's just something that I've made that decision to do that. I don't know if every business owner's that crazy, but
yeah, it is. It is. It's a radical, I trust the Lord kind of business model, which is really beautiful. Marcus Lemonis, I don't know if he's a Christian or not, but he does all of them just on a handshake. And he's had problems where people screw over like, you just gave us $200,000. I don't know what you're talking about. You just lost the money.
Yeah.
In a partnership or whatever it was. But it's cool because I that's such a radical way of doing business, and they say going forward that authenticity is going to be more important than being a salesman, than having knowledge or anything, because it's all available online. They don't need you. Everything's on Google. And so having that value system that's really going to get a contract done by somebody and they are signing it that says, I promise to do right by you, that speaks volumes.
Yeah, for me too, I've always was taught to compartmentalize things in my brain. So you kind of, start, doing, when you go to work, it's, I think this way, and this is the way I gotta operate, and these are the boxes that I kind of fit in, the parameters that I fit in. And what's real difficult is then you go home and you try not to have those same kind of boxes and parameters in the way that you think. I remember when I first started business, I'd be hugging my wife, or I'd be sitting at the table, or doing whatever it was that I was doing, but she would just randomly ask me, what are you thinking? I'd be like, work, and just even the way that I treated my kids was real structured and governmental in a way that wasn't relational. I had, certain parameters and ways that I wanted to run the home, and ways that I wanted to run the relationship with my wife, and everything started spilling in there, and I couldn't compartmentalize things as well as you think you can, right? And say, well, over work I'm going to be this way, and over here I'm going to be this. It just, one will start dominating the other. And so I really chose in my life to let relationships and let an eternal mindset be the one that takes over. And so I don't try to be different at work than I am at home, or vice versa. I want to be the same way that I am here as I am there, as I am everywhere, and let it be the freest most loving, unconditional way of living my life. Rather than the other way around. So
so you've destroyed the compartments and said, let it all be, basically run by Christ.
Yes.
In that nature.
Yeah, and I think that's weird that we say
everywhere.
Yes, yeah, and it frees you. I mean, it just sets you free, right? There's a mentality too to say God is the highest priority, and then it's family, and then it's work. However you want to line it out.
Wife, kids, church, whatever.
And that's something that was taught to me even from a young kid being in the Baptist church and Sunday school and everything. And as I got older, I started realizing that is not true. That it's God in everything.
And that's how you figured out how to do it.
And that's how to do it. It's God in everything,
Because they talk about it in church. They're like, hey, I know you let God have you in this area or that area, but if you let him have this other area, and it's so much that compartmentalizing thinking that we teach to our kids and we teach to everyone, and say if we remove those barriers, he floods over all of it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful, man. That is beautiful. So, I was reading a book and it basically says that no matter what, you're always going to have problems. You want like CEO problems and you want like mediocre people problems. You know what I mean? And so, of course, this is the kind of stuff that you're going to deal with. So obviously, as a business owner, you've kind of chosen the latter. So what are the challenges that you're facing right now in business that you're still working on overcoming?
Well, I'll tell you, the main one for me is there's this perception that you have when you work for corporate America or you work for someone else, and it's what's called a regular paycheck, right? And so that regular paycheck mentality of thinking that there is a promise at the end of the week on Friday from some man that you're working for. And so that makes you feel safe and secure. You think, okay, well, at least I've got a regular paycheck. It helps you budget, right? And all kinds of things. When you first step out into owning your own business, all of a sudden that regular paycheck is gone and it's up to you. And so you think, that just leaves me insecure, that leaves me uncomfortable. And I remember having this conversation with God several times throughout owning the business. And especially early on, I feel like I've gotten pretty far now, even though there's days. But I remember even at this house, in this office, just thinking, God, I want to maybe go back to just corporate America. I mean, that regular paycheck would just help me with all this anxiety. I mean, I've got a house bill, payment coming up. I've got, my daughter's now a senior, she's about to go away to college. You just kind of think, where's the money going to come from?
Where's the stability?
Where's that regular paycheck to help me pay for all this stuff? And I remember God just thinking, look, how much more stable is it working for some man, in a corporate office than it is working for me outside of it?
Yeah.
Who really provides? Who's really the provider in either scenario? And sure, that sounds maybe really good, here we and you are on camera, and these people, and you're like, yeah, but until you put that to the test, at that level, and be tried in that over and over again, it takes some time. It's not like light bulb going off and going, hallelujah, I'm set, I'm done, I'll never worry again. There's always these moments, and it takes time. There's a process of maturing in that and growing into that.
So you're still kind of dealing with that.
Oh, sure.
Like you said, daughter going to college.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's for you at the end of the day. What is the answer to that? Is that just reliance on Christ who is providing all those things?
It's always,
I'm doing this. I'm your stability. I'm your paycheck.
Yeah, always going to Him every time. And knowing that that's the source and that's the answer, and not start looking for it in other things. I think that's where you start getting twisted and you start getting messed up, and all of a sudden, before you know it, you're just as wrapped around somebody's finger than you were a long time ago. And so,
fear chases you into areas that you never would have gone.
Man, you start relying on other things, and when those things are taken away or don't seem like that they're as readily available or changed in any way, then you're a mess. You're a basket case. And so over time, it's made it less and less. I remember walking into winter months because that starts slowing down for us in decorative concrete. I mean, maybe it's the butthole clench factor, it's how tight is it over the years. And it's loosening, over years. It's gotten more and more comfortable over the years. And so even now, walking in the spring, we haven't gotten as busy as we normally do through March. And so there's a little bit of you start, okay, we haven't got as many calls going on right now, but over time, as you mature, you just think, you know what, rest. God is always taking care of me. You know, He's always provided for me. And then the other side of it is this: when things don't own you, you say, you know what? If they take my house, they take my house. You know, we'll go rent somewhere. You know, I make plenty of money to pay rent somewhere, apartment. You know, if they take my cars, they take my cars. That even comes down to the fact over the years, if I lose my family, if I lose relationships, Christ is it. Yeah. He's the center, and you can't take that.
Exactly.
You know,
can't take it from you.
Yeah, that mentality is the mentality I work on to be able to deal with. I think you have to have that to deal with the issues and the problems that you have as a business owner or as an entrepreneur. If you don't have that mentality, I don't even know how you get started. I don't even know how you jump into it. You know, if you can't have the faith.
Well, that's what I was wondering. Like, you know, there's a lot of, I'm sure, atheist business owners, especially like in Silicon Valley and stuff. Like, how do you deal with that? Normally, I couldn't.
Man, you know, the stresses of that, the things that you're going to lean on to help cope. I don't know what kind of twisted things are all involved in, or even very regular, you know, worldly things, whether it be alcohol or whether it be marijuana in places or whatever it is. The bad thing is that always wears off, you know, and you need to consume more and more. Yeah, your tolerance level just, it grows and grows, and so you've got to consume more and more and more. So, yeah, I don't know how they do it. I really don't. And, you know, it'd be impossible in my mind.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it might be the reason why there's so many, you know, so much depression and stuff, and that you just can't carry it anymore.
Yeah,
you know, there's no one there to help you out there. So, I mean, you kind of touched on this a little bit. A lot of people really think, you know, oh, well, it's easy for them, or they had this, or you know, someone helped them out along the way, but I can't get it myself. So, can you talk a little bit more about, I guess, starting with nothing and kind of what that looks like? I mean, I really like the cold calling and running those restaurants. Talk a little bit more about the necessity of that.
Yeah, you know, I think
doing 3 jobs, you know.
You know, people are always so down on themselves. I hear a lot of things like, well, I'm not an artist. You know, and in my mind, everyone is an artist. And it may not mean that you can pick up a pencil and draw a perfect portrait of whoever it is that you want to draw, but everyone is artistic. Everyone is brilliant. Any ignorant, you know, debased person can see someone's flaws. But it takes a true genius to see genius in everyone else. And then that includes yourself, you know? And so I think you've got to start with understanding your true identity, first and foremost, before you even get into kind of the nuts and bolts of what it means to run a business. Like, you got to know who you are. And to be honest, that's what Christianity is all about. I think we've lost it along the way. I think we've made it about, you know, heaven and hell, or sin versus righteousness, or whatever the dualistic approach that we want to approach this with here in the past. But really, nuts and bolts, the simplest way to look at the gospel is understanding that you are so one with God, that you are Him and He is you, right?
Absolutely.
And that's Christianity, and that's what we should be spreading. And then when you have that understanding of, I am God and He is me, right? We're so one, we're so intertwined. I mean, marriage is the picture of that. Everything is the picture of that. That all of a sudden, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me, isn't like some weird thing that you're saying while you're, you know, crying in your bed or in the gym, or, you know, whatever. It is rocket fuel. I mean, you know, it's something that inspires you in whole new ways. You know, the dynamics of life just end up being so much more multifaceted and beautiful than you could have ever imagined. You know, than just this one little narrow path or whatever you think it is. That's bull crap. You know. So once you get your mind wrapped around that and understand some things, man, it's just there's a whole other understanding of what I touch turns to gold, because your motivation's pure, your mind is pure. Everything that you desire and want in life is not for self, it's for God. And God is more than just a man in the sky, it's you, right? It's my customer, right? It's the bank. It's whoever's loaning me money versus the money I'm spending versus the, you know, it's everybody in business. It's your family, which is a tremendous support system to have around you while you're going through starting a business, right? So for encouragement and everything like that. So that's God, right? That's who God is. We are Christ, right? And so that's first and foremost. And after you kind of get some of that understanding down, you know, hey, you know, today I've got to put together a list of people to call over the phone, and it's not so daunting anymore, because it's not like, what am I going to say? It's a whole new understanding of this person is a person, and it's my neighbor, so to speak, and I'm going to love them the same way that I love me. Oh, but see, that's why I had to start with me and your identity. You know, I don't know how to love them if I don't know how to love me.
Oh, wow.
And so
Absolutely.
That's the very beginning. And so when you start talking to people like that, and you hang out and just want to chat and visit, and hey, by the way, this is kind of what we're doing, but man, I enjoy just talking to you regardless, you know, if you want to use us or not, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, if you ever just want to go hang out or get our families together, or hey man, I just want to give you a word of encouragement for the day. You know, I know that this isn't your thing and that you already have someone else, but man, let me encourage you on some things that I've heard you say over the phone, or how important this was that you said this to me, what it meant to me. I mean, you know, and that kind of life, it seems like all the, like you were asking about the nuts and bolts of, you know, the cold calling and things like that, they fall into place. You're guided and directed in ways. It becomes an effortless performance, right?
So, and the important thing from what I can gather from you, the distilling that, the just starting, you can't do that until you know who you are.
That's right.
And you dealt with a lot of those issues internally, and trying to wrestle with that and kind of wrestle with God.
And what's amazing is that can be turned on right now.
Instantly.
You don't have to go to counseling. You don't have to go through this medication program. You don't have to like wrestle with it for the next 3 months to try to figure it out. It's like, just open yourself now. Allow that to happen in this instant. Accept it, embrace it, and believe it. Right, and move forward that way. And then
What is the it that you're talking about there?
the gospel message of
The
who
gospel
God,
message.
of who
Okay.
God is in you and who you are in Him. Right? What does that really mean? It's you know, the glory of God has been given you. It shines through you. Everything you touch, what you say, through your eyes, through the things that you embrace. I mean, it is the things that He touches, He embraces. You know, when you understand walking forward that way, it just changes the way you move in life. And I think it changes. I think a lot of business owners, and I think this is good to have goals and some, you know, some things that you want to do for the next week. Have your little calendar and things like that. But there's got to be a freedom in these things. I'll give you an example. Like, there was a bid that I went and gave to a lady who's she had cancer, and her daughter had become a lesbian, and it just really, you know, troubled her that people weren't embracing her, and it really broke her heart that people couldn't just love her daughter for who she was, and it was just kind of this whole scenario. But this is at a bid, right? I'm giving a bid for her patio,
Yeah.
and this is what we're talking about, right?
Absolutely.
And so I had an appointment that was at a certain time. It was coming up on like 10 minutes, 5 minutes. I was supposed to be there, but we're in the middle of having this discussion. And I think most business owners get in this mindset of real, you know, hard, making my appointments, getting my stuff done, checking my stuff off my list. And that's why I haven't really got into that with your question, is because, you know, a lot of people, if they hear this video, I want them to think that that's the way to be successful. I want them to understand that when you have this other mentality, success comes to you whether you put those things all real hard, iron-fisted in place or not. But about 5 minutes before I was supposed to be there, maybe it was 5 minutes after, I was able to just kind of put in a real quick text saying, I'm sorry, I'm not going to be able to be there on time, if at all, today. And didn't really check my phone again, and kept talking to this lady, and we ended up talking for probably about 30, 45 minutes after when I was supposed to leave and be at that other appointment. And it was a beautiful time. You know, she was able to really, she cried and was able to really express some things, and I was able to really tell her how much God loves her and her daughter, who God is, and all these kind of things. She was raised Catholic and was Catholic, and so we just really connected. And by the time that I left, I got in my car, and the person where I was supposed to go texted me back and said, oh man, that is phenomenal, because I totally forgot about our appointment.
Oh, nice.
And so, man, tomorrow would be way better. And the cool thing is that my third appointment was over on the side of town that I already was, and that I needed to be there in probably the next 20 minutes or something. And so it's just, you know, it's just amazing how God can order your day and order your steps, and if you'll be free to that kind of mentality of, you know, not so much get business done and make it happen, but be able to live free in what God's calling you to do in that moment.
Existed as well.
Right.
That is so mind-blowing, because I probably read 30, 40 business books. Not one of them says that. It's the exact opposite. You know, the way they tell doctors to make money is you put red tape that goes to every door and it blocks off the nurse's station, and you don't go past that red tape. And you spend 8 minutes with each customer, and that's it, and you go. You know, and don't spend time talking to nurses. You do that, you're going to be a successful doctor. You know, and then so many people start, you set your plan, you set your focus, and you only do those things so you can say no to everything else.
Yeah. And I think that needs to be what changes how do you define success?
Wow.
And so you need to anybody needs to sit down and rethink, what does success mean? What does that mean for me? What does it look like? What does it smell like? What does it taste like? What does it mean for the people around me? What does it mean for me? What will I be doing as successfully? And I think that, you know, if you think that it means a boat and a bigger house and some cars and money, you know, everybody wants to put this little thing on money where they think, well, you know, yeah, I don't worship money, but, you know, it wouldn't be bad to have it. You know, it makes everything easier. And I'm just here to tell you, it does not make everything easier. It makes everything more complicated, it makes everything more difficult. And so if you're chasing after money, you're chasing after more problems, you're chasing after more complications. And if you don't have that mentality, then those complications, those problems end up dissolving, right? It doesn't matter how much money or how little money you have. And so I would define success and what it looks like. And for me, it is relationships. And those are the only things that are gonna last forever. When you take your last breath here and you end up somewhere else, it's the only thing that's gonna last forever. And it's the only thing that when you're laying on your deathbed that you can look back and see your family all around you, whether it be friends or whoever, that you've built and grown those relationships, where it's going to be alone and you're going to have a fat bank account and, you know, your boat in your garage or whatever. And so this will change that. And again, you'll be successful whether, I mean, you know, you're living in a tent in your parents' backyard or wherever. Make that your modus operandi and your
that is beautiful, beautiful vision for success. I love it. So I know you are a reader, so what are you reading right now?
Well, I've got Tim Ferriss's The 4-Hour Work Week, which is kind of funny. I was recommended that book from my business partner in real estate. And it's pretty...
They're big into that, real estate agents.
Are they?
Yeah.
And so he's not even an agent. He's, you know, he works for US Bank and he's a nerd and just in every way that you can define nerd. But he said, Zach, I think you should read this because you've already got so much of this book down. And it really is. It's about how to, you know, trust other people to handle situations for you and not to micromanage every tiny little thing. Mm-hmm. And so I became a fan of that a long time ago when I started getting into my own bookkeeping. And I was just doing it going, if I have to do this for a year, 2, 3, I don't even want to do business.
Yeah,
I don't want to be a part of it.
Absolutely.
I would rather go install drip irrigation on the back of plows on farms, you know? And so
it takes a special kind of person to do bookkeeping.
It does, and I tell them, I mean, you guys, you're amazing. You make the world go round, you make my world go round. You know, I couldn't do anything without you.
Yep.
And so I got, you know, my bookkeeper that handles all that kind of stuff. But that's kind of one book that I've been reading. I told you guys a while back, I tried to read something that's not easy for me to read. Mm-hmm. It's normally outside of my wheelhouse. It normally takes me quite a while to get into it.
Are we talking as far as subject matter or like vocabulary?
All of that. I mean,
everything above.
Yeah.
Just pushing your brain to that next level.
Yeah. I want to pick up something. Most people pick up a book and they're into 4 or 5 pages, maybe a chapter, and they're going, "Man, this is a difficult read. It's not really interesting to me. I can't really wrap my brain around it." So they'll put it down and they'll go pick up something else that is easier to read, that kind of fits them better. And I just don't see really the point in doing that unless you're sitting on a beach somewhere and you're just trying to relax and you're on vacation or something like that. Those lay reads, you know.
Other than that, reading should be an exercise.
I think it should. I think it should be an exercise. I think it should be things where you have a dictionary sitting beside you, looking up words, or having Wikipedia, looking up concepts, looking up people, looking up things, and trying to get into that author's brain. To me, it's about relationships, right? So if your goal is to be smarter, what do you do with it if you're just a smart guy and you don't know how to communicate it to anyone?
Yeah, if you don't understand the concept, that it was useless to you in the first place, and you built no relationship. You've been building a relationship with that author.
Yeah, and so if you're just picking up the vocabulary words and you're learning concepts, but you couldn't get in that author's brain to see what they were trying to convey to you, and you basically had a relationship with him through the read, you could see inside of what he was painting, what he was trying to portray, and why. I think that that's more beautiful than expanding your vocabulary or anything. Now, if your vocabulary is expanded and your idea of concepts are expanded, to help communicate that same process and thought, mindset to someone else, then yeah, wonderful. You know,
You've achieved the goal.
You've done it, right?
So what book or speaker has really kind of changed how you think? Like one of the bigger, obviously if you're reading like you are, your mind is constantly growing. But for you, what's a big one? What was one was just like transfer, maybe even left you like with gut pains for 3 months?
Yeah.
Because I've read books like that.
Yeah, I'll tell you. So there's a few. The one that came to my mind very first, and I don't believe in everything that this guy's ever wrote or ever preached. But his name's Gregory Boyd, and he writes on a concept called open theism. And I was raised real traditionally in the way that I thought about God and everything. Yeah, Baptist, I'm pretty strict Baptist. I wore my little suits going to church, you know, as a little kid, you know. And so, but this guy, I just found this book at Barnes and Noble, and it was a God thing because I was just struggling with my faith in some pretty major ways. I'd get in debates in Austin about God and with atheists. None of my friends were Christian, and so we'd debate about who God was, what, you know, if God was real, all these different things, and we sit till 4 a.m, you know, debating. And I remember one night after debating this guy for, you know, several weeks, he said, "Okay, I got this straight. I think here's what you're saying, Zach. He's God is all powerful." I said, "Yeah." And he said, "And he's all loving." I said, "Yeah." And he said, "He's created all things, including me, right? Knit me together." I said, "Yeah." And that there is a heaven and hell, right? And I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "Okay, so you explain to me this. If God is all powerful, and he's all loving, and knit me together, why would he knit me together in my mother's womb, knowing that I was going to hell? Why would he finish the job? How is that a loving God?" And I couldn't answer him. And I'm a pretty good debater, you know, and it just really rocked me to the core. And I thought, okay, God knows all things that are going to happen before they happen because he's all powerful in that way. And if he's all loving, you know, why would he make, you know, Mark here? Why would he make him knowing that he's going to heaven and put him here on this earth just destined for hell, you know? And so it rocked me. And so this book I found in Barnes and Noble and pulled it out. And it was Gregory Boyd, and it said Satan and the Problem of Evil, constructing a Trinitarian warfare theodicy. Right?
You're like, that's it! That's what I was looking for!
And really, the title, you know, was kind of intriguing, but the subtitle was one of those things where my brain was stretched, you know? I was like, constructing a Trinitarian warfare theodicy. What? You know? And turned it over to the back, and there's those questions that I had. And so I started reading it. It was one of those books that probably took me 6 months to read, and it wasn't like a casual, picked it up whenever. I mean, I was on it, reading it. And it just totally blew my mind. And in fact, it unraveled me so much that I felt really unsure in some ways. I felt really exposed in some ways. I felt convicted in a lot of ways because I taught a certain concept for so long, and here it was just exposing all those things and biblically, you know, bringing in all kinds of you know, information from the Bible that I've never seen before, and it just really rocked me. And then as far as, and that was more on a, you know, theological, philosophical level, you know, and then as far as like just artistic and being able to paint pictures with words, I would say The Count of Monte Cristo was probably one of those books that was one of the most colorful. I could smell the smells, I could see the colors. It was very intricate, every little thing, but everything, there was a subsurface development that was going on during that whole book that was very God-centered and oriented and philosophical and theological in the ways that it wanted to portray ideas and concepts.
And the guy's eventual redemption.
Yeah, just all the word pictures that it painted just really allowed me to walk into situations and be able to explain eternal concepts in much simpler ways like Jesus did in the parables. So that book stands out as another one.
That's perfect. That is spot on, man. Yeah, if they go pick those up, that's for sure. They'll be wrestling with stuff. So habits, of course, are super important to success as far as in life and in business. So what are some of the good habits that you find yourself doing whether it's every morning, whether it's the shower, read the Bible, whatever it is, like the things that you do consistent? What are you consistent at that are good in your life right now?
So that's real interesting, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so habits again is kind of like the nuts and bolts of how to structure and organize your day, and I kind of really just
So you've done away with all nuts and bolts.
And so I just kind of stirred that all up. And like I said, I think that there is some, like if you looked at my calendar today, there's definitely order and structure to my life. Right? I definitely have color coded ways and things in my calendar, reminders and all kinds of things. But again, if those things don't get done, or if I don't get to them, it's okay. And so it's kind of the same thing with habits. Like I think that, and this is, everyone's got to kind of be a little bit careful with this, and take it for where they're at and what they're doing. But to be honest, as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, it changes everything. And so if you're not accustomed to change, and if you're not actually even promoting it and inspiring it, then I don't think you're going to get very far as a business owner. I think you're more of an employee. And if you need habits every day that are going to rule and kind of structure your life, you probably need someone else to govern you as well. And so change is everything in entrepreneurship or business ownership. To give you an example, like the technology just in decorative concrete has changed so much over just the 10 years that I've been doing it.
Yeah.
If I wouldn't have been open and actually desiring and wanting change, and sure, there's always systems. Like I've had systems in place, and that's kind of what we're talking about. So these systems that you put in place, but you're always thinking, how can I make them better? How can I make them more productive? How can I, decrease the amount of time and increase the amount of productivity? And to tell you the truth, how can I decrease the amount of people it takes to do it, right?
Yeah.
And all those kind of things. So you're always looking for change. And so I'd be careful of getting real habitual in the way that you do things. In fact,
don't farm.
Do what?
Don't farm. Be a hunter-gatherer. Look for the fire. Be willing to burn.
Man, roam, explore.
Yeah.
All that kind of stuff.
So for you, the most important piece in this piece of basically get used to change, get comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yes, and you better.
And look for it as well. Don't just wait for it and know it's coming, but look for it.
We have in decorative concrete, we blew past some of the old guys that were in town. They had gotten real habitual with the way that they did things, and their whole processes were just a certain way for years and years, and they never changed it. So when we came in, we said, here's all the things that are lacking in their process, and here's how we've bettered those things. And then all of a sudden we started developing our own process, and I started looking, I didn't just go with what someone else had laid out there. I didn't go to a weekend and learn, a certain process. I went and explored and put different pieces together that fit where we wanted them, and then tried it, and then perfected that to the best of its ability, but it was still lacking, right? It was still missing. And so then I would go and look, and we'd go to Lubbock Concrete. I'm on all the blogs and all that kind of stuff, and I would start looking and trying to perfect and change those little things. And lots of things change. I mean, people's desires for what they want on the floor. For a while they're wanting this kind of color, they're wanting this kind of shine, this kind of design, and all of a sudden people change and what they want, their appetites for things. And so habits, I think, if you could back it up to just really the only thing I could say that would give you any sort of leverage there or a positive move forward there would be eternal things. It'll only be eternal things. Anything temporal is going to change. It's always going to change. You need to inspire change. It needs to change. It's going to change. And so eternal things are some of the things that never change. But you can be careful there, right? That's why when you start talking about habits and the eternal things, there's so many things in my eternal field of vision of who God is, who I am, what He's done that has changed. And maybe not in eternity, but for me it has.
Yes.
And so that's just something to really be leery of. And so, if it's ways that you treat people, if it's some habits as far as maybe health goes, and even that, I always just kind of cringe a little bit of these people who are like, well, I'm gonna do nothing but eat kale for the rest of my life, And then they, hear about these people that were health nuts that died at 37.
Steve Jobs just to get any medication.
And so it's that spirit-led life. Like, again, if you're not going to have that, your life is going to be one kind of puzzle after another that's going to confound you and confuse you and make you upset because the pieces seem to change and don't ever fit the same way they did yesterday. And but if you're open and you're free to life and you welcome change, because there's so many things that are solid in your life, being him and who he is and kind of how he's giving you your vision for what success is and all that kind of stuff. And I hope I'm not shooting your questions down.
No, I love it. Because that's the whole point. I want to get inside of your head and how you think and what you do. And I mean, it's so cool because every business owner is different. Yeah. And there's so many out there, and I've read every single book I can get my hands on, just like you. And yours is just totally blowing my mind.
Awesome.
Because that's what I'm here to do. That's what I want to do for them. Is I want them to get into a different realm of thought. Something they say, a mind once changed by a new idea never regains its original shape, and that's where I want to be.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah.
And so I'm a big fan of change, big fan of being uncomfortable, big fan of doing what you have to do and just starting, and that brings a lot of value and wisdom for that.
Yeah. Every time I try to put my finger on something that I feel like is going to become a habit in my life, for some reason it ends up shifting and I can't keep my finger on it. And there's times when you get frustrated by that and be dismayed by that. I say people don't be frustrated and dismayed by those things. If God has you in this particular place and having you do something every morning, like, I used to say, if you want to be successful, get up early and go to bed early.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. And that's a real typical business owner kind of response. But bullshit. If God wants you to stay up late because that's where your audience is, or that's where your mind's growing, or that's where he wants you to be because he's there, then stay up late and get up late.
Yeah.
There's just, you can't put these little rules
restraints on your life.
And I used to say them. And I did it. I was getting those, because that's when all the successful people are up. They're up early.
Early to bed, early to rise, and don't forget to advertise. That's the thing.
All that stuff, and it's kind of like, man, just explore and have a great time with life. I'll tell you, if you want to be an attractive person and you want people to gravitate towards you, and vice versa, the people you gravitate towards, it's going to be people who are free like that. When you start getting into a real religious way of doing anything, you're creating a cult. And I've been guilty of that myself.
That's what they teach here. Love it. You know what I mean? Almost every church.
It is. It's a real cultish way. Christianity's become that. A lot of religions are that way. It's a real, here's the steps, and here's the routine, and here are the habits to success.
Yes.
And so all these books that say the 7 things you can do for success and all this kind of stuff, I'm not saying don't read them. I'm just saying if you put your whole life inside that little tiny sphere and think that you're going to, be happy and be successful, I think you're just missing so much. I think there's just so much, and it's even in the nature of Christianity to look real derogatory towards other world's religions. And I think any religion is not going to get it, even Christianity. All religions are just not going to get it. But when you start looking at all of them combined, there's so many components that are true inside of each one.
Well, because it's ingrained that law into our hearts. Sure. There's so much of us that, if I were to go build a religion, it would be based on as much of the morality that I've learned in the 28 years of my life. You know what I mean?
Here's an example. We're so closed off, and we live in our little Lubbock world, or we live in our little Texas world, or we live in our little world. And so here's the disservice that you're doing to yourself and to others. And this is just an example of just using religions. So Christianity just has this pompous air about it of saying, Jesus Christ is the only way. Now, I agree with that. He is the way, right? There's not a way around it, but it's your heart behind it, and it's the way that you put on these lenses to look at others that really destroys and sours the whole thing, and then you've lost it, and you don't even have it.
Yeah.
And so there's Taoism, which is probably, if you go over to Asia, it's going to be the largest religion in Asia, right? Taoism is huge. There's a huge religion over there. You think it's Buddhist or something like that, but it's not. Tao is massive. And so if you go there with that mentality, and let's say you get outside of your little Lubbock box, your little Texas box, and you do some traveling or something like that, and our goal is to connect, right? And our goal is to be able to see truth and love and unconditionally, and be able to inspire others and be these people that change is okay, you're free, you're an explorer, right? You're not so much in your little box where you're like making everyone else fit in your little box, And so when you get over there and they start saying, yeah, I'm Tao, well, if you immediately as a Christian, if you shun them or say, hey, well, let me get you off that track and get you on this Bible Christianity track, one, you're being somewhat of a bigot, and you're not taking the time to really know them as a person or what they truly believe or what Taoism is. Do you even know, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And so that's the real question. And so here's the beauty of it. If you can embrace change and be okay for some things that aren't always the way in your little box and the way your life is fit, is Taoism believes in what's called the way, right? And you're not supposed to impede the way or block it or go against it or anything like that. You're supposed to literally step into the way. And it is the essence behind all of life. They say the way is the essence behind all living things. It's the harmony of the trees and the grass and the river and you and me and air and the planets, and that it's the way, right? And that's the beauty of the way. And they worship the way. They want to step into the way. They want to step into its flow, and you say, I know the way.
I know the way.
And it's
I know
Jesus,
him. Yeah.
right? And that's who the way
Exactly.
is to me. So man, we were brothers before you even knew it.
Yeah.
Right? And I can give you a book that explains the way in some different concepts and some different
And now
things.
you built that relationship and you've connected. It reminded me of the EAC and Nemo. Don't fight it, just rip it, roll it, punch it, move it. Exactly. Isn't that great?
And so, back to, business is, I think business owners, everything should be changing here. You see this younger generation coming up. You see the political strife and the division and the turmoil that's all there. And so people are wanting genuineness, and they're wanting people who are attractive. And there's a smell that people can smell, like you're attractive, want to be around you, want to hang out with you. And I think that's the most important thing as a business owner, to have that. You're going to have employees, people working for you. You're going to have customers that are, calling and talking to you. You're going to have banks that you're doing business with and having to gain relationships with. It just, the list goes on and on. It's all people, And if you can't be that kind of person, I don't know how you can be a business owner, an entrepreneur.
They force things together and duct tape it and hope it holds, and then they're always having to fight leaks and things of that nature in their plumbing because it's shooting out everywhere. Yeah. You see it all the time. People just struggling to hold their businesses together because the relationships aren't there.
Yeah, people want formulas.
Yes.
They want a formula, and they want the formula for success.
Mm-hmm.
And so they'll pay lots and lots of money for it. I mean, we just got back from the real estate conference where these people are willing to just dish out all kinds of money because this guy has the formula. He's got it. You got to pay for it, but I've got the formula. Mm-hmm. And you'll live in your house on the beach, and and so people are so hungry for formulas for success and happiness and everything. And I think, one thing in this interview is anything is I want to throw the wrench in this idea that there's a formula outside of him. I mean, there's just not. I think God told me that one time as I was wanting the formula. How do we do this? What's the formula? He said, I'm infinite. Right? I'm infinite. I'm all powerful. I'm infinite. There's no formula. You can't put me in a formula.
Yeah, you can't package God. And people so much try to package him, especially in these little churches here in town and everything.
Yeah, and I think that whoever is watching, it'd be great to find a mentor, great to find somebody who can sit with you, learn you, know what you desire, the desire of your hearts, and be able to kind of shape that and guide that and direct that to wherever that ends up kind of leading and going. But I'd be real leery of signing up for a formula or buying a 7-step book and thinking that that's going to actually get you what you want somewhere. It's much more personal than that. I guess that's the only way I'd put it. Make it personal. Make it, whether it's like with a mentor, someone who can sit with you and talk to you and pour into you and encourage you and give you just little nuggets of wisdom and pieces of whatever's going on in that moment, in that now moment. Make it personal. Make it something that's very personal, not something that's a formula you read out of a book or a concept you buy from a guru or something like that.
Perfect. That's perfect. All right. Where can they find you? If they want their concrete done. I know you're probably busy.
Yeah, no, concrete, to be honest, is it's steady, but real estate is
where you're headed.
Yeah,
so that's where you rather have renters than concrete right now at this point?
Well, not necessarily. I would like to hire somebody to do what I do on the decorative concrete side and pay them a
so
salary.
you're looking for more of a GM. type or
and
foreman.
And maybe even a part owner. Like I don't mind giving away equity in the company, letting them grow it, letting them let it be their baby, and somebody who's inspired by it. And so that's what I want. But yeah, if you want decorative concrete done, then go to my website at divineconcretecreations.com.
Divineconcretecreations.com. Okay.
Yeah, you can find us online.
And then where can they hit you up if they're, they've got the experience, they know what they're doing, and they want to get an interview with you for?
Yeah, if you want to call me,
foreman.
Phone number respond to 806-392-5392.
Nice, perfect.
And if they just want someone to talk to about business or life or anything,
Same thing, call you.
Yeah.
Just hit you up.
Same thing.
Really?
Yeah.
All right. That's be careful.
Yeah.
It's the internet. Your phone might be blowing up a lot more than you wanted to, but like you said, you're open for it. All right, that's perfect. Thank you so much,
Yes,
man.
sir. Thank you.
Hey guys, we hope you enjoyed that video interview. We really enjoy getting to shoot them and film the business owners getting to tell their story. If you have any questions you'd like to ask that business owner or us, you just drop a little comment below or send us a message. We'll definitely try to answer your questions. If you own a business and you live in the Lubbock, Texas area, we definitely love to tell your story as well. So you can comment or message us, get in contact with us somehow, and we'll try to set something up for you. If you would like, comment, share this video with your family and friends. We definitely like getting the word out and helping these businesses grow, and we again just love telling their stories. So yeah, thanks for watching. Have a great day.